Hey everyone. Alright, so I'm actually kneeling on the floor right now because I do this video on the floor, but it's actually how to make padding for drag, like how to make body, pretty much. So this is like a hip and butt pad dealio. This is just going to give you some ideas on how you can do it. There's tons of different ways you can, but this is just one way. You can buy them also, but if you want like custom ones, then it's just better to make them or have someone make them for you. I did this very quickly, so just so I could get this video up. The easiest thing to cut them with, I don't mention this in the video, but the easiest thing to cut with is actually an electric knife, because the blades go like that and it just makes carving out the shape a lot easier. I use a knife and scissors in this because I don't have an electric knife right now, so yeah, you can use whatever tools you want, but an electric knife is going to be the easiest. You can find really cheap ones probably on like eBay. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg on them, especially if you're just using it to cut foam. One last thing before I actually start this video, and that is I am very, very skinny. I'm well aware that I'm very skinny because, of course, I see my own body every day. So pointing out something like, oh, you're too skinny, and oh, you need to eat something, oh, you don't look healthy. I eat more than enough, so let's not worry about my weight, let's worry about your own weight. And also telling a skinny person who eats healthy that they need to eat something is kind of like telling an overweight person who eats healthy that, oh, maybe they should stop eating so much. It's not cute, so don't do it. Just thought I'd point that out because you do see like my natural waist and everything in this video, and I know that there's going to be tons of comments like that, so who cares? Actually comment about the video. So yeah, with all of that said, let's just go right ahead and get the tutorial started. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your measuring tape, a piece of paper, pen, pencil, marker, whatever you need, just something to write with, and then you're going to take measurements so you can measure how you need the pads, the length and width and everything. So the first thing you want to do is if you actually take your hands and press into your side and go down, your hands will stop right on your natural waist, which is right above your hip bones. So if you want your pads to start there, you will start measuring right at it. You're going to have to judge by your own body and where you want the pads to start. I start mine a little bit lower because I have very long legs and a very high waistline, so if I start them up here, then it's just too much. I actually start them around this area, so about 2 or 3 inches under my natural waistline is where I start mine. But you're going to do that, and you can see right there is my natural waist. So if I go right there and then go down about 2 inches, I actually start my pads right there because I wear my pants and everything lower. And then what you're going to do is you're going to measure down. I don't know if you can see this, but you'll hear measurements. And where you want your pads to stop, go ahead and mark that on your piece of paper. Then once you have the measurement for the length of the pads, you're going to want to do the width. So the way that you're going to measure the width is where you want the widest part of your hip to be, that's where you're going to measure across. So if you want it to be very wide up here for some reason, you'd measure up there. If you want it down here, so wherever you want the most of your width, I want mine right here, where I don't have any width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same measurement I did before, and then notice where I want the width, and I want it to start around 2.5 inches, and I want its widest part to be around 4 inches. So right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark down 4 inches on my piece of paper. So I have my first measurement, and then 4 inches down for where I want the widest. Then after I have that, you can just push and turn if you need to, because now you need to measure this way. Pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to measure from the front of where you want the pad to start. I don't want mine to start all the way in here. I want it to start more like in this general area. So you can just start it wherever. And then you're going to measure back to where you want it to stop. Now if you're just doing hip pads, of course you're just going to keep the main focus right here on your hips. So maybe you're going to do, for me, it would be like 7 inches. This is going to vary person to person. If you're a little bit bigger, then of course your number is going to be bigger. If you're smaller, then of course the number is going to be smaller, but maybe you're smaller and you want it to be bigger, so you can do that. So I would do 7, but if you're going to add a butt to the pads as well, you're going to extend it even farther. And for me, I would do about 11 and a half. Maybe even more. I might even go to 12. It's going to be up to you, but I'll probably either do 11, 11 and a half. Of course, the last place that you want to measure if you're adding butt pads is how high you want them, pretty much, so you can do top to bottom. Go ahead, write down that measurement as well, and then from there you can go on and start transferring everything on the next step. Before I start marking things on the foam, which if you do too many markings it's just going to make things difficult, I actually just take a piece of newspaper and I take one that's got the 2, so that way I have a nice straight line down the center for my center line. And what you can do is you can go in with your measuring tape and you can mark out the length that you wanted. You can start it at the very top if you want. That's a good reference. You don't have to start in here. And then go down into the length you want, and then you can take like any kind of permanent marker, it doesn't matter, and just do a little mark on each side. Then I'm going to go down to where I said I wanted my widest point to be, and I'm going to make yet another mark. Now what I can do is I can go in the center and then take the measurement from earlier, which I said I would do around 11, 11 and a half. I'm actually going to do 11. And then of course the last mark is going to be for the butt. So however far down you wanted it to go, you can go ahead and make a mark for that as well. You have all like the basic markings. You're just going to go in and connect the lines, but once you have this you can go ahead and cut it out and then transfer it onto your foam. Just trace around like a stencil. And then a great thing about doing the paper, you can actually take this and hold it up to your side and make sure everything measures up how you want it. When I held this up I decided I wanted the bow tie to go a little bit farther out, so when I actually trace this onto the foam I'm just going to extend it more, but everything else was exactly how I wanted it. So what I'm going to do is I bought this piece of foam because I knew it would be big enough to do 2 side by side. But now I'm just going to take this and I'm actually just going to line the top and the sides up, less cutting that way, and then also I can fit the other one on here for sure. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to trace around. Okay, I have everything drawn on there, and you can see I marked the center of where I want it the thickest, because now that I'm going to cut these out, I'm going to start shaping them, and I want to remember where this spot is, so that way as I'm carving out the shape, I leave this the thickest. So it's just nice to have that so you can kind of carve away from it. But now I'm going to cut it out. To do that, I'm just going to use a pair of like craft scissors because it's easy. You can use a knife, anything like that. One thing I have to mention though, before you start carving, I already started carving one, but when you do start to carve them, you don't want to carve them like this. You don't want to carve each side. You can see on this one, I already carved this side. On this one, I would carve this side. So they would, if you put them together, they would make like a funky heart shape. And the reason you do that is because you can see, when I get up close with that, how it's kind of bumpy. And if you have this side out, it's going to show bumps, so it's going to look like you have like hardcore cellulite in the thighs or like hemorrhoids on the butt. It doesn't look good. So what you do is once you're done carving your side, that's why you want to make sure everything's nice and thin on the edges. You flip it around and you put the bumpy side against your skin, and then the smooth side will be on the outside. You won't see any of the bumps, and then everything will actually just bend over on itself and then create that seamless effect. So just make sure when you're carving them, if you lay them next to each other, they can form like a heart. Otherwise, you'll have like one bumpy side and then one smooth side. So yeah, but now that I mentioned that, I'm gonna tell you how you can actually start carving them. Shape cutout, you can go in with a big knife, or you can keep using your scissors, or if you have like a foam cutter, you can do that. But now what I do is I just start to take away some of the bulk on the outer edge because I'm going to want this very, very thin. So this takes a little time, pretty much. You can't just rush this. So pretty much I just grab up here and then of course I cut away from myself, but I just go in at an angle so that way it's bulkier in here, and then it's gonna slope down because you're gonna want the edge as thin as possible so it'll blend into the skin and you don't see any lines when it's under like dance tights or leggings or anything like that. So yeah, just start trimming away all the fat, so to speak, all the way around until you get the shape that you want it, shape you desire. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and you guys want to make sure that you try them on every once in a while you're carving them to see how they're formed on your body. But you can see that they have a nice shape to them. You don't see seams or anything like that. Very, very easy, and that's all you actually have to do. So yeah, until my next video, I will talk to all of you soon. Bye.